Welcome to today's episode of Life in HD, where we invite special guests to come in and chat with us about human design in real life. And if you're new to this channel, I'm your host, Crystal Alferrero. I'm a human design guide and founder of the Human Design Academy. And today we're actually going to be talking about life as a self-projected projector and projector entrepreneurship with our very special guest, Pamela Barba, who's a 1-3 self-projected projector and brand and leadership coach. So welcome. How are you? I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you. Yes, I'm so excited.
Awesome. So could you kick off and just share with us a little bit more about who you are and what it is that you do?
Sure. So I am a first generation immigrant. I was born in Ecuador. I live in the United States. I am a third generation entrepreneur. So my grandparents had a business. My parents have a businesses. My parents are manifesting generators.
Oh
So
my.
um human design gave me the context as to why, when they wake up every day and they're like, I have a new business idea. And I'm like, Mom, no. Like it made that dynamic made sense. So anyway, third generation entrepreneur. Yeah. And I love business. I love creativity. My undergraduate degree is in graphic design. And so I started doing branding and working with people and really realizing that like the visual brand wasn't the problem when most people think of branding for their business, they think of like, it needs to be beautiful, it needs to be perfect, it has to blah, 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 blah. And I realized that like, I'm like, actually, there's like some self-worth thing going on, or like something else is happening. It's like not your brand. So
Mhm.
I started kind of like making my way into coaching because of that, because we started having these deeper conversations about like what was holding people back from sharing, or
Mhm.
what would happen after they had this beautiful brand. And I got more interested kind of in that side of it. And now I'm completing my master's in executive coaching at NYU, because I fell in love with like the human
Yeah.
coaching side of it, and just wanted to learn more.
Oh, wow.
And I'm also a human design reader. I mix human
Oh,
design
yeah.
with what I do with this. Yeah, all that. And I'm a baby astrologer. So after
Oh,
human design, I was like, oh, not that after, because you're like never done learning it. But an opportunity presented for me to study with a mentor, study astrology with a mentor last year. So yeah, I baby
that's
astrologer.
exciting. That's exciting. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, astrology definitely adds a deeper layer to things, or it gives you like a different way to work with human design as well.
Yeah. I find there's like different information.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, totally. Um, I was gonna say, like, jack of all trades. I feel like you're following as a self-projected projector, you're following that self-fulfillment, following that thing that lights you up. Well, not lights you up in the generator sense, but really just follows that higher self path, that thing that brings you that sense of self-fulfillment. And with that, like, did you resonate with being a projector at first? And, did you see different characteristics or notice different characteristics about yourself before coming across human design that you weren't, aware of before?
I 100% like once I read that I was a projector, it made so much sense. And you know what's interesting? How I found out about human design like early 2021. And then I kind of like forgot about it. And then went to do, I went through an Akashic record training to become a reader. And as I was doing that, like I heard human design again. And so I like went straight back into it because of that, which was so interesting. But yeah, when I read about it, I was just really burnt out for like the fifth time. For context, I quit my career in 2017. Like I was like, I can't, I thought I could, I could not. So I quit and I started like a business, and it has gone through many iterations. And so through 2020, I was like going really hard on this, like, I had a membership. I was going really hard on like the whole branding perspective.
Mhm.
Um, and November of 2020, I was like, I'm done. Like, I cannot do this. And also I started kind of realizing that part of how I was coaching people inside my membership, I was in different coaching containers, and I was like, the advice you're giving, like, I understand that it's good advice, but it just doesn't work for me.
Mhm.
And then I had my own coaching container, and I was like, I know what I'm telling you is good, but what if it only worked for me? Like, what if it doesn't work for you that way? And so learning about human design and this like low point of like, what am I doing, was like such a gift, because I was like, oh, no wonder like
Yeah.
this stuff works for me, that stuff doesn't work for me. So yeah, immediately with being a projector, I was super bitter
Mm-hmm.
when I found human design, because and I felt really bitter because I was, I would have like small conversations with people where I would give them unasked for advice, or I would be like, oh, here's the piece that's missing for your business. And then it's almost like they wouldn't listen to me, but then they would do the thing, I would like 6 months later, I would see them and they're doing exactly the thing that I told them.
Of
And it would
course.
make me so mad because I'm like, I pointed that out to you, and like, so then I started realizing like, yeah, there's like this dynamic of like, I can see something and it's really frustrating to me because I'm like trying to tell you, and you're frustrated because I'm trying to tell you. So it just like immediately gave me so much context about why I was feeling so bitter, because so often
Mm-hmm.
I was telling people things that they didn't ask me for.
Yeah, yeah. And how was it living with two manifesting generator parents that were both entrepreneurs? Like, what was that like?
It's exhausting.
Oh my goodness. Actually, you know
Yeah.
what?
And
I found out that both of my parents are actually both manifesting generators as well, emotional
really,
manifesting generators. Yeah. But yeah, no,
yeah.
go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted. I had
No, no,
thought.
no, you're good. It just, I mean, there's a lot of pieces to it. I know you can relate because a big part of it is like this whole immigrant narrative of like, you got to get up and grind and like do this and do that. And I always felt, my parents are flower wholesalers, so they import flowers and then they sell flowers. So
Mhm.
it is somewhat physically laborious, but definitely not as like physical labor as other immigrants experience, right? And so I always kind of felt like a sense of guilt because I was like, I got to go to college
Yeah.
and I get to make way more money sitting in this like beautiful air conditioned office, right? So I always felt this guilt about it, and this guilt of like, I just can't keep up with you guys. And I feel guilty because it feels like it's easier for me. And it definitely is in many ways, right?
Yeah. And were you inspired by them to go down the entrepreneurship path, or is that just something that you accidentally stumbled upon yourself, especially
Well,
as a
it's
1-3?
funny. Yeah, I did not. I always thought I would have my own business, but I thought it would be when I was like in my late 30s or something.
Mhm.
Like I'd be like, I'm gonna have a good career and save all this money, and I'm just like gonna do this very responsible thing.
Mhm.
But I just burnt out. Like I was like, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, but I have to quit today. And so it was kind of an unwilling way to start a business in a way, because it was like a last resort sort of thing.
Yeah. And I mean, being a projector, coming into the world of entrepreneurship where a lot of the advice and like you're saying, the containers, the coaching spaces, a lot of these business coaches were generators or not even generators, are projectors, but are just also fed the same generator type advice of,
Yep.
go, well, let's just say, for example, like post on Instagram every single day, do this, do that. And it's just, as a projector, of course, it makes sense. But physically, when you come in contact with it or you attempt to do it, it just feels like suffocating. Were there any, what was, I guess, the worst? No, I'm not going to say the worst. What was the most misaligned piece of advice that you were given when you started in entrepreneurship?
I think, oh God, I could write a book about this. I think the most damaging in a way to me was that, you know, I remember I joined this like sales 1 year program that had like mindset coaching and like sales training and this, and it was like, create the freedom in your business like today, like, um, and there's like a narrative that's not just there, it's in many spaces, that it's like, if you can't mindset yourself to do this, like you just don't want it bad enough, like you have everything you need, you're just not mindsetting yourself hard enough, and that's why you're not getting it.
Oh my gosh. Way to Way to deflect and project the responsibility from your, yeah. And I mean, it's unfortunate. And I feel like human design is a game-changing tool for us projectors. So I guess for you, when you started as, or I guess in the entrepreneurship space, what was the biggest challenge for you coming in as a projector? And actually, did you know that you were a projector at that time when you first started?
No.
You mentioned not, right? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I started my business in like 2017, and I learned about human design like late 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So several years. What was the hardest thing as a projector? That's a great question. I think so. It's actually kind of funny. So what 99% of graphic designers do when they start a business is they start a design studio. Like, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And it was funny because I was like, yeah, I guess I'm doing that. I designed the branding, all of the stuff for it, ordered 300 business cards. And the day the 300 business cards came in, I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, I
Oh
was
no.
like, I realized that if I open a studio, I'm going to be like buried under emails all day. And I was like, I like to work with people. And so I
Mhm.
think the hardest thing is that I could feel my projector superpowers, but I didn't have the skills to be that guide yet. Like, I had
Mhm.
the skills to be like the worker bee, but not like, I just didn't know how to use like my projector superpowers. And
Mhm.
so like I remember I doing this one session with a person. It was like a one-time, thing that we met up, and I could just tell that the business they were building was like not in alignment with them. Like, it was just not going to work because it was not alignment with who they are, their strengths, their gifts, and they didn't have the skill set. And so it was like still
Mhm.
clear to me. And so I was like trying to like get them to see that, and it went very bad. Like, they were like, this is not what I paid for,
Mhm.
and so it was like having the projector powers, but just like not being empowered as a projector to know when to give out that advice or not.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I mean, it's difficult. Um, yeah. Um, so how did human design change the way you operate your business now and the way that you approach business?
Yeah. So, I mean, I was very lucky in the pandemic. My partner and I moved in with my parents. And so I had like space to not be like freaking out about money. So that was a huge privilege. And so in 2020, I spent like a year just learning about human design. Like, before joining the Human Design Academy, I just spent like a year listening to podcasts and studying my charts, and just like absorbing it. And I kind of took a break from my business. Like,
Mhm.
I went to work for my parents' business because I was like, I just need money. Can I
Yeah.
just like data entry for you, whatever you need? And so I just took a break completely. And that helped me to get some space from the bitterness and to like start coming back from that burnout.
Mhm.
Um, and it made me value my gifts and understand how they work and how to get into situations in a way that like work with people. It also made me like stop like I dropped out of every coaching container that I was in, because I was like, I just need to like sit with my own energy and like see what this is about. It also helped me change my services, knowing
Mhm.
that I don't have any energy centers. And so it made me realize like I I can't do something where I always have to be on. Like, it just doesn't
Mhm.
work. Um and then also the 3-line component, like learning that I'm a 1-3 profile, was, I think that was really, really significant to me because as a 3-line, like, we're meant to experiment and to like try this thing and to like
Yeah.
quit it and try this other thing and quit it. And I felt so much like shame around that 3-line stuff, that it just like it really gave me the permission to be like, oh, that is a gift. Like, it's a
Mhm.
gift that I spent so many years learning design, so many years learning about business. Now I'm learning about astrology and human design. I'm learning about coaching, and like it's all kind of like coming together.
Mhm. I feel like, yeah, learning about my profile as well. Like, we're both 1 3s. And I don't know if you like, let me know if you resonate with this, but there are times, especially that one side wanting to investigate more, wanting to like have all the things figured out first. And then the third line is just like, who gives a shit? Just do it. Like, try it and see what happens. And then we'll come back and we'll, what do we say? Like, we'll figure it out. Right. Is that kind of the same process that you have as well?
Yeah, no, it is. It made me realize, yeah, I just have to like jump in. And the liability of being good at branding things is that if I did a good job, like whatever brand I built would like surpass me. And then I would feel stuck. Like I'm like,
Mm,
shit. Like I just built this great brand. Everybody knows what it is. When I first started my entrepreneurship journey, I wanted to build a community for Latinas, and it kind of like blew up. Like it blew up in a people know what it is way more so than it actually is like a functioning community or business way, right?
hmm.
Um, and so due to the success of that, and this is the part too where I figured out like, wow, like as a projector, like opportunities really do come my way when I'm like, when I do like the lighthouse thing, right? Like when I'm like,
Yeah.
here's what I do, and things come right. So many cool things happen. I got to start speaking. I, got in Forbes. I got invited to speak at South by Southwest, like all these like really cool
That's
things.
awesome. Yeah.
Um, but it like no longer felt in alignment. And I was like, I don't know how
Mm.
to like handle this thing, like because I made this thing and now like I've outgrown it. So it also made me realize that like I shouldn't. And then I built another brand, and then it was like this whole, that one wasn't as big, but it was this whole thing. But it made me realize whatever brands I build have to be around me and my personality. That way they can always evolve with who I am.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like stuck to this thing.
Yeah. No, it's so true. Um, there's something that I wanted to ask you. You were mentioning like about getting all these invites and, getting invited to Forbes and South by Southwest and doing all these speaking events. Were there times that you felt guilty? Like, were there invitations that you received that you weren't aligned to, that you felt guilty for saying no to, and, you ended up doing them anyways?
I
Or,
mean, yeah, I still struggle with that. Like I don't feel guilty because I mostly say yes. Like I'm still like, sure. Well, the way that I think about it is, and actually this came through when I was doing an Akashic Records, somebody was doing a reading on me, was that like if somebody's already gathering people and I get to like stand up there and be my self-projected self, um, I'm like, sure, yeah, like
yeah.
you bring the people, I'll bring myself. Like that feels more in alignment with me than it does for me to like be like laboring and like gathering all the people so that then I can like share my message.
Mhm.
And so I feel like I'm still discerning which are good invitations and which are not.
Mhm.
Um, I still feel a lot of like should, like, oh, you should say yes to that, like you
Mhm.
should do this thing. Um, so yeah, I feel like that's a piece I'm like still figuring out. How do you, you
I
know,
am still also figuring that out. So we can have,
that
especially
makes me
like,
feel better.
we'll have a projector, a 1-3 projector support group on this because, yeah, like, I mean, I feel like for me, when I receive invitations, it a lot of the times depends on my energy, right? It's like, if this invitation requires me to do more than I'm already doing, my splenic hit for me is like, not right now. Like, this sounds all cool. It sounds all nice, but like, I've been burned before where I said yes to things and, it ended up having to do a lot more work than was required or that was initially kind of set at the beginning. And so for me, it's almost like this defense mechanism. My body's like, hey, just make sure you're clear on what the expectations are before you say yes to them. Right.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
yeah, again, it's trial and error, discovery. And so, and like, again, for me, I guess as a splenic authority, when we compare this, it's more so in the moment. Like if it's a invitation and I know. If I'm doubting it, if I'm still like, maybe, then if I'm avoiding sending a reply, then for me, that's a sign that I'm like, this is probably not the right thing, or there's something that I need to figure out first before I say yes to this. How about you? Like, is there a certain process that you go through when you're feeling into these invitations?
Yeah. It's, I'm a self-projected projector, and I feel like that's still one of the pieces that I'm like learning how to connect to, because sometimes it's really clear. Like sometimes I'm like talking to somebody and I can hear like the hesitation or like the excitement in my voice, you know?
Mhm.
But I haven't quite figured out how to do my self-projected projector authority like consistently on my own without
Yeah.
having like this person to like just like listen. And a lot of times with this invitations, like, yeah, I feel like I'm still making decisions from the like from the mind and not my authority, especially when
Mhm.
it comes to like speaking stuff. And you know,
Yeah.
with the context too of like the pandemic happened and is happening, and like that's right when my speaking career was starting to take off, and then it
Yeah.
all like halted. So now it's like starting to come back a little bit. I'm teaching a workshop at a women's conference this weekend, so I feel like I'm like, okay, let's just get the, because what I find with, as a projector, and I'm curious if you relate, is if I'm in my energy too much, I get like stuck in a circle. Like I need to
Mhm.
like I need to like be with people a little bit to be like, oh, here's the next thing. um
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, you definitely get, especially since we're split definitions, right? And we're not simple split definitions either. Like I feel, let me see your chart. I think I have it here. Yeah, you have like from the ajna to the throat, they're like completely, yeah, open there. So we
yeah.
do benefit from, getting out there, sampling, talking to other people. Not again, like for you, especially not to get advice or anything like that, but just soundboard with other people. I think that's actually your process more so than mine. And that's why you benefit from it. It's almost like you kind of soundboarding with them in different ways, just talking about it.
Yeah, and there's something, so my environment is kitchens.
Mm,
And I really connect with that. And so I like, there's just something too about like getting out of like being in my office by myself, and even just going to a coffee shop, even if I don't talk to anybody, just being around other people's energy can sometimes like just bring clarity for me.
yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And for me, I feel like I get distracted if there's too many people around me. I can't think. No, I'm markets internal. So I like the activity as well. I like to have motion around me and just actually my office is like right on a main street. So it kind
Oh,
of
I love it.
emulates that in a way. Yeah. But anyways, so how like I know you mentioned your profile being something that was really key for you when you learned about it. How do you see that 1-3 manifesting in your business right now? Like in terms of maybe how you market yourself, or maybe the offers in the way that you structure them, or in the way that you make decisions. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's funny because as you know, as Crystal and I hopped on here, Crystal's like, how should I introduce you? And I'm like, because you know, part of this 1-3 process for me is like just giving myself the room to evolve. And so I've been calling myself a brand and leadership coach probably for the last year. Actually, that's not true. Probably since December. So it even hasn't been that long, because before that I was using like brand and business strategist or something. Um, and so it's like, it's just really important to give myself the permission to like evolve,
Mhm.
and to let myself like follow the things that feel exciting, and to, you know, I'm 33 now, and I've seen this when I read people's charts and their 1-3s. It seems like before the Saturn return, they're so frustrated. Like they're like, I just keep changing what I
Oh yeah.
do. And I'm like, yeah, like and I felt the same way. But I've noticed that with people post their Saturn return, are like, they're like, yeah, you know, I've done a million things, but now I'm kind of finding like this is kind of like, if you think of a tree trunk, like here's the trunk, and then there's all the branches, and it all is starting to kind of make sense in some way.
Mhm.
So I have hit that stage of being a 3 line where I'm like, yeah, it seems random, but it's not. And so it gives me a lot more permission to be like, yes, I'm in like this executive coaching grad school program, and I'm a student of astrology and human design. And, you know, and I love to
Yeah.
draw little quirky illustrations, and I trust that it's all going to come together at some point. Um, and so, yeah, I think it's just like that permission piece, and that like not getting too attached to anything that I make. And I feel really privileged because I am a designer. I can like redesign my website every day if I wanted to. That's
Yeah.
not a good use of my time. But
I love
as
your
opposed to
graphics, by the
somebody,
way.
oh, thank you. But yeah, but like as opposed to somebody that's like maybe paying somebody for every single iteration of their brand or something, like it can start making people feel like boxed in. Um, and so part of it too has been like just having offers that are where I can bring all the pieces together. Like when I'm doing a 6-month coaching thing, like maybe we're talking about business, maybe we're talking about astrology, maybe we're talking about human, it's like anything is game. And so just learning how to show myself as this multifaceted person that has done all these things. Um, it's interesting because the part that I struggle with is more with the one. Like, I
Mm,
don't think I do a great job of showing people just how deeply I go into topics once I get into them. Like, I really think that what people see from the outside is like, what is she doing again?
yeah.
But it truly, like, I'm like, no, like I've like deeply studied business. I've deeply studied branding and design um and astrology and human design, and I don't know that I'm always doing a great job of like showing that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, again, you have that open heart. You don't have to prove anything or show anything if it's not bringing you that sense of self-fulfillment, right? It's not aligned to what you want to do and what you want to show and how you want to present yourself in your business either. Um, but as a self-projected projector, you have that channel of inspiration, the 1-8. I see that totally, like, just in the way that you do your branding, your design. It's just like you're a living, walking example of what it means to have that channel of inspiration, being that creative role model. And it kind of flows in everything that you do. Were you surprised, or were you like not surprised at all when you found that aspect out about yourself?
uh I mean, I feel like it's really cool, like whenever so I was like, oh, this is cool. I have
Yeah.
this creative role model channel, but no, it wasn't surprising, I was an art kid and graphic designer and also the marketer. I forget who I heard describe like the 1 and the 8, like one's the artist and the other one's
Mhm.
like the art dealer,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I have a lot of people with the 1 gate, and they're like great artists, but they don't know how to talk about it. And I come in and I'm like, oh, but you just say this, and so it felt like totally dead on. And one of the coolest things I think that I've learned through human design is that like truly when I just let myself be that creative person, it doesn't even matter what I'm creating. That is what gives that lighthouse effect where people are like,
Mhm.
hey, what are you doing? Like, can I see? Like, can I, do you want to come here? And so it's less so for me about like pushing and like shoving things in people's faces, and more so about like if I just get lost in my creativity and just like having fun and doing like silly joyful things,
Yeah.
like that's what gets people's attention.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense when you have that channel, right? And like it's through what you create, that's your contribution to the world. That's what you're here to, help people with, guide people with. And yeah, it's just I love seeing the parallels between real life and how it's actually, the mechanical part of your chart. So how would you say, or actually I wanted to ask you a little bit around like how are you helping your clients right now integrate human design into their business? Or is that something that you're offering?
Yeah, so I do human design readings and I specifically look for career business stuff. And when I do like a large coaching engagement, so somebody's working with me for like 6 months or something, I'll basically be studying their chart the whole time
Mhm.
we're together. So sometimes clients may choose to use like one of our coaching sessions as a reading. And then other times they're like, oh, I'm not interested in a full reading, but you know, take a look and let me know what you see. And so, I feel like I'm always like in their chart. And then I'm like, oh, no wonder this happens. Like,
Mhm.
here, or we're like talking about marketing and I'm like, oh, you have a fifth line, like here's what we want to be cautious of when you're
Yeah.
marketing, um and so yeah, so I'm like, I'm still finding what's the best way to integrate it because it's
Mhm.
such a deep um such a deep thing. And also, in my astrology chart, I have my sun in Taurus, I'm a rising Taurus, I have my Venus in my first house. Like I have a lot of very Taurus practical energy. And so for me, it's always like, how do we make this practical? Like this
Yeah.
is really cool. We can spend hours learning about this, but what action can you take from learning about your human design like today? Or what action can you not take? And I think probably my favorite thing about doing human design readings is that most often the response that I get is people being like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me.
Hmm.
Like now I understand why I do that thing, or why that thing is really hard for me. And it's like permission to be in their own, be how they are, and to build a business
Yeah.
in a way that is aligned with that, knowing that they don't have to force themselves to do something that they don't want to do. Well,
Yeah.
there's nuance to that, but yeah.
Exactly. And like you were saying, it's like you can really use the entirety of the chart, but it can also be very simple. Like when we use and integrate human design, like I was just talking about this earlier, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to type, strategy, authority. And then the practical uses to that, making the daily decisions that we make in our business, right? We don't have to box ourselves into certain things, but simply just be guided by what that looks like for us, like your strategy and authority. And yeah, like, yeah, there are really so many different ways that we can use human design, but I think as projectors, I also really like simplicity as well in terms of using it. And at least that's my approach. I love analyzing it for that matter. But when it comes to like marketing and stuff like that, uh, I don't go too deep into it, if that makes sense. It's just kind of like following what feels good at the time. And actually, have you, like in your business, do you use certain aspects of your chart in your branding? Have you looked to certain aspects to give you insights on the direction you want to take or anything like that?
I mean, realizing that I have a defined head and ajna and that they are connected, was like, and realizing that a lot of people don't, um, kind of made me have more respect for this like strategy kind of power in a way that I'm like, oh, like it really, there are so many ideas that people with like open heads or open ajnas are like trying to like sift through and
Hmm.
like trying to understand, and that it is hard to be like, here is the path, or here are three paths you could take, like which one are you going to choose? So I think really connecting with that has been really helpful for my business, because I trust
Hmm.
that a lot more. um and then, with my throat and identity center, like, yeah, like especially with the self-projected thing, I forget who I was listening to, but she's also projector, and she's like, yeah, when I'm going to record a podcast, I just like turn on the mic and then I just start going, and so I like, I no longer feel like, oh, let me plan this out. Like I
Hmm.
truly feel like I'm like, I can just turn this on and see where it goes. And
Yeah.
that, of course I'll edit it, whatever, to make it work, but it works.
Exactly. Like you, at the end of the day, it's just, you don't have to overthink things. You just kind of trust yourself to do it. And yeah, I mean, that's true to your projected. I keep struggling with that self-projected projectorness. And
It's
just
a
the
tongue
way,
twister.
right? Exactly. SPP. Are we allowed to say that? So do you have any final words of advice or words of wisdom that you'd like to offer projector entrepreneurs who are, out there trying to make it work and trying to do the entrepreneurship thing in this generator dominated world?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that we have to find a way to make it safe to wait and for things to take more time.
Mhm.
For me, that looked like getting a part-time job with my parents. I'm moving in with my parents, which happened right before I discovered human design. But truly, that is what gave me the safety to be like, I'm really bitter. and need to take some time off my business until I figure out what I want to do. And then also figuring out what kind of support do you need. And so, for example, for me as a self-projected projector, I've realized that one of the reasons why a lot of coaching spaces don't work great for me is because I can't do my self-projected projector thing. Like the sales group that I was in, like literally there would be like 50 people in the coaching call, and you get like
Yeah.
3 minutes to ask your question, and I'm like, takes me 3 minutes to figure out what I want to say,
Mhm.
and so just like for me, like realizing that like in this season of life, I need a place where, whether it's like a mastermind group or something where it's like small and where I could truly just talk. And it's not that I
Mhm.
need new information, but I just need to be able to do my self-projected thing. So figuring out like what kind of support you need. And then, yeah. And again, for me, the profile was huge. But really like studying your design to just give you the information to forgive yourself for not being how you were told you were supposed to be, I think is amazing and incredible.
Yeah. Oh, I resonate with all of that. And especially what you said around you need to make it safe so that you can wait. Because when I left my 9 to 5 and I jumped into entrepreneurship, I had already been like, I had my side businesses, my side hustles, my like Etsy shop and stuff like that. But I wasn't earning enough to like make that the thing that I could live off of, right? So I think one of my not I'm not going to say it's a regret. It was definitely a lesson, but I would have definitely been more open to having another source of income at the time when I was first starting out, because otherwise you're just like burning yourself into the ground, running off of this urgency, this fear, and you can't create abundance out of that urgency and fear and feeling broke and you know what I mean? Like just yeah, I really, really liked how you worded that. And it didn't really yeah, it explains it perfectly, right? A lot of people when they do my my business readings, I always ask them like, what is your kind of financial position? And it's not to be like, okay, well, how much are you earning? It's more so to say, are you in a space right now where you are actually in like financial scarcity? You are fearing that you're going to get kicked out of your house, or is this just kind of like irrational? Maybe they have a partner that's supporting them and that inner pressure is just coming from themselves, right? So it's like really identifying that, because if it's real financial scarcity, then that's something that you really want to handle. Like not everyone can just go all in and take out these big loans and do all this
Right.
stuff, right? We really need to take care of that safety part first, for first and foremost.
Totally. And for me, with an open root center, like if it's too much stress, I just crumble, like it does not, I do not, it's not motivating for me. And that's one of the typical, like, entrepreneurship advice. Like you go all in. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, like don't do that unless you can. And I think it's Karen Curry Parker that said this, but she was talking about how we're like not taught to wait. And when you have a business, like, if you're overwhelmed with your life, because maybe you're running your 6 side hustles and like still not making enough,
Mhm.
like it's almost like your energy is like, please don't give me anything else. Like my plate is full. So it's like it's complicated, because it's like, how do you like energetically clear the plate and like make things be okay so that the new invitations can come in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like kind of tying this back to safety, right? I feel like it's really important for projectors to budget even more so that if you're having like, if you have inconsistent cash months, then you don't feel that scarcity, or you're less likely to feel that scarcity when stuff isn't coming in, and you can still create comfortably from this place of security and not, try to rush things, not try to force things. And take that time to rest so that these, whatever it is, those invitations, the right invitations can come through for you, right? You have place on your plate, you have that capacity as well. So I really love that you brought that up.
Yes, yes.
Awesome. Well, um, I guess to wrap things up, like, is there anything that you're offering right now that you'd like to share? Is there anything that especially with human design, like do you have any readings that you do to help people apply human design in their business?
Yeah, so I do the like one-on-one readings, but really if people want to like work with it deeper, come, talk to me, see if we'd be a good fit for a coaching package, because that it really just takes time to embody, and through like a 6-month package, that's where I can truly like we can truly like start deconditioning and like talking
Mhm.
about like what things come up when I'm like trying to listen to myself projectedness instead of my mind, right? So there's that. And then also I'm hosting a like monthly like just creative co-working session. This
Yeah.
is my 8-1 channel where it's just a Zoom where we're just kind of like body doubling and just like saying hi and working on something creative, whether it's like your business or your book or an email that you want to send or whatever it is. So I'm really excited about that.
Yes. So if you're a projector, you need to get on that, because sampling other people's energy, getting hooked up there, that is, oh, so helpful. Super, super helpful. And yeah, is actually, I wanted to ask you to wrap this up again. What is your favorite quote or mantra?
Oh my gosh. Right now it's one step at a time.
Oh,
That's
yes.
that's
That's
I
a
it's
good
on
reminder.
my
I need that.
yeah, I have
I
it
needed
on the
that.
background of my phone. Like that is like one step at a time. That's how we're doing this.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much, Pamela.